Recycling is important to me as it is to very many people. However, it is often impossible to recycle polystyrene. We need more advanced recycling options, but we also need to simply reduce the amount of waste we create. COVID-19 has seriously impacted our business communities. If passed, this bill would be effective for prepared food vendors with more than 20 locations by 2023 and for all prepared food vendors by 2025.
Currently, many of our small businesses are suffering. And while I believe that large businesses have the ability to access capital and address this quickly, I think it is worth us, in the name of economic recovery, giving them a reprieve and some time to look, and giving us some time as a General Assembly to look forward. I don't feel like we should be adding more to their plates right this second if we don't have to, given that we have the time, as Delegate Carr testified. So
it's 5 years out. And so we have a lot of time between now and then to assess what any potential effects this might have on restaurants of other sizes. And we could always go back and amend the code and push the effective date to later.
I guess my perspective might be a little bit different if I didn't think that there were plenty of viable alternatives. But, looking really fast online, Restaurant Supply Depot and other suppliers, it's really easy to find stuff on here that says, if you are currently in an area where there's a styrofoam ban, there's plenty of alternatives available to keep your takeout service running smoothly. And there's no less than 6 or 7 really good alternatives out there to be able to replace polystyrene.
A number of states, including Massachusetts, Oregon, Washington, and Pennsylvania, as well as a number of cities, have instituted styrofoam bans. There are a number of compostable materials that can be substituted for styrofoam. For example, DC made available a list of over 4 pages long enumerating suppliers for their restaurants when they initiated the ban. Restaurants have 4 years to accommodate to no styrofoam use, while there are ample and affordable substitute products available for their carry-out foods. In addition, it has not been proven that styrofoam can be effectively and economically recycled chemically with manufactured recycling.
Styrofoam is a little bit unique in that it keeps meals hot. So it's very popular with, not just Chinese restaurants, Indian restaurants, other ethnic foods. Is there any type of substitute?
Again, it's 4 years out. We've got time for people to adjust to this, to accommodate to the new materials.
Almost every person that spoke in favor of this, about a week ago, spoke against the recycling of plastic. Right. So, I would ask them to think about both sides of the matter, because even if we do this, it's still going to be out there, it's still going to be a nightmare, and we need to address the gentleman from the Chemical Council's ability to recycle and to do something good with this.
One of the carve-outs was, initially it was carved out to exempt nonprofits and local governments, i.e. school divisions, who could still use styrofoam. That to me made no sense at all. Why are we going to say styrofoam is bad if it's used by a small business, but it's okay if it's used by a school division? We need to at least make it equal across the board between for-profit and nonprofit business.
I think that we need to be aware sometimes when we pass legislation and particularly put a delayed effective date on it, that does not mean there is no fiscal impact. And what concerns me, and it's consistently concerned me, is when we pass these bills that have a delayed enactment in them, that they have a fiscal impact, but yet the fiscal impact is not addressed, and the bill is gone into law, and therefore any fiscal impact really is not going to be appropriately addressed.
The polystyrene that we're talking about here is waterproof and it's thermal. So can the gentleman tell me what product is going to replace the styrofoam product?
I think the best explanation is, in America, ingenuity fills a vacuum. And again, we have a product in styrofoam that contributes to pollution in a way that really no other plastic waste does. It's not recyclable. We can't break it down. I don't have the exact answer, and that's why you'll note I was initially opposed to this bill, but this is part of a larger issue. To the extent that we get this bill off the floor and pass it, I think it's important that there will be a reciprocal understanding on the other side of the hall that recycling also needs to be respected and the recycling industry needs to be respected.
The places that give me these styrofoam containers are the places that are struggling the most right now. And I understand there's a delayed enactment and that this may not take effect until years from now, but I just think the better approach would be to maybe incentivize other forms of wrapping, if that's paper, or aluminum, or other things that we can recycle. But incentivizing maybe people to start doing it that way before we just cut them off and say you can no longer use these things that are obviously cheap for them to use because so many of them are out there using it already.
To the extent that anybody believes that that there is no recycling solution, you're wrong. Absolutely wrong. Now, the proponents of this bill did make the point that this is not biodegradable. It does not disappear. It will sit in a landfill forever. But I, too, have great confidence in American ingenuity, and businesses in Virginia and America are actually evolving. And I just looked, and, you know, we've got a great business called GreenMax that is recycling polystyrene, making moldings from it, making picture frames from it, making other products from it. So to the extent that you're going to vote for this because you think that it's not recyclable, that's false. It's wrong.
This was the great polystyrene compromise of 2021. And basically, the compromise is the House adopted our amendments, which simply say that the ban on polystyrene will apply to all users, including local school divisions and nonprofits. That will not take effect till 2025, so they have plenty of time to adjust. But the bottom line is we win. I move that we adopt the compromise.
Ayes 24, noes 15.
The Senate floor substitute exempts the use of acquired structures for live fire training from the definition of fire training activities in this legislation, as well as amended the definition of oriented strand board, which when it left this body said, and I quote, engineered wood products manufactured with adhesives and wood strands, unquote. And now the Senate has greatly enhanced that definition to mean, quote, a multi-layered board made from strands of wood together with a binder by the application of heat and pressure with the strands in the external layer primarily oriented along the panel strength axis in accordance with U.S. Product Standard 2-18 Performance Standard for Wood Structured Panels, unquote.
Ayes 76, nays 21, abstention 0. The Senate amendments are agreed to.